Question, real estate in California. What the Seriously, can someone help? What's an escrow? What's an ARM? What is an REO? What is pre-approval? Can I get pre-approval? Why is inventory so low? Why are interest rates so high? Oh, interest rates not so high? How low is low? How not so high is right.
Before you go down the road of questions, get expert help at championsofhome.com. California Association of Realtors. Who's your realtor?
Hi there, everyone, and welcome back to Real Estate Real and Unscripted with Nicole Miller. Thank you guys for joining me again. I am so excited that you are here listening in. As you know, the purpose of my show is to bring to both real estate professionals and homeowners and just generally everyone information, knowledge, because knowledge is power. And unfortunately, if you are in a position where you didn't know things, you only know that afterwards, where it cost you money or aggravation. And so the purpose of this show is to be super niched. All of my episodes are tailored around a particular category that touch on the real estate ecosystem. So today I have with me Nick Harrypersad with Be Cool Air Conditioning. And I am so glad to have you here. Thank you so much for giving us the time and your knowledge. And thank you again for
I'm happy to
being
be
a
here.
part
Thank
of
you for having me.
Awesome. So we're going to talk about the world of HVAC in this show. Ductwork, HVAC, from lens of a homeowner, buyer, seller, what people should be looking out for and know. And so Nick will be here to give us some information and help maybe educate you on some things you may not have known. So Nick, tell me a little bit about yourself. What brought you into this space? Have you been doing this your whole adult career?
Yes. So I've been doing this my whole adult career. I got involved in this at 21 years old. I'm 42 now. And I got lucky. I got involved in air conditioning on the design end. So design, installations, sales on the sales side. So really getting involved with how systems work, sizing systems to make sure they're properly sized, duct sizing to make sure the duct sizes are proper, airflow issues, air quality issues. So that's the side that my entire career has been on, not just fixing them. I've been on the design side.
Awesome. Was that like for new construction and things like that, or
No,
just
from residential replacements?
Just replacements.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Got you. And so I'm always big about changing our space and elevating the space that we're in and being unique and making a difference and doing things differently for the benefit of the consumer. Right. So what would you say you bring to the table that makes you different and your company different?
So what we do, we ask questions, right? So questions, we ask a lot of questions. So when we get calls about complaints. People are calling us because they have issues, right? Normally it starts off with a simple issue. Hey, my AC is not working. Then we dig into it. We dig into what kind of problems they've been having in the house. Some people will say, hey, this room's been hot for 30 years, or my electric bill's been super high, or my AC just runs nonstop. So when we start diving into the issues that people have in their houses, we're able to now dig into it and find out how to solve that, how to actually get in there, make the changes, and completely fix that issue once and for all.
Rather than it recurring and coming back, because there are things that, you could do and clean out or do, I think I've had it where they'll flush it but why is it getting like that?
Why is it backing up? Why is that
backing up all the time? And especially even in condos, right? You could be in a situation where you're taking care of your unit, but you've got 3 units above you and it's just all in one stack, right? So, getting down to that, the solution and the root cause, I guess, is what's important.
It is.
So awesome. Thank you. So with the world that you are in and relating that to real estate as a buyer, when you are a buyer and you're looking at purchasing a home, what are some things from your lens? Granted, people do inspections, they have the inspector, they come out and the inspector kind of does a general overlook on things, right?
Right.
What have you seen over the years that may not be caught from those type of inspections? What are things buyers should be looking out for? Red flags, problems, stuff that you don't necessarily think about as regular people.
So, as a buyer looking to purchase a house, especially if it's a fairly aged house, 30 years, 40-year-old house, you want to look at the system cleanliness. You want to see if it's pretty clean. Is the HVAC closet or the garage or wherever it's in the attic where it's sitting, is there a lot of water stains? Is there a lot of buildup around it? Sometimes you may see like black fungus building up around the unit. You want to look at where the filter goes in. You want to see if that's clean, because that kind of gives you a little hindsight as to how the AC system has been maintained. The inspectors can only get involved with so much. Like they can't actually open the systems to see what the system looks like inside of it. That's a big thing for us to look for. So we try to guide real estate professionals to try to bring an AC company in for an inspection. Have them come and meet the inspector that's there. Because we meet with certain inspection companies now, where we'll come out and they'll call us out to meet with their inspectors, so we can go the extra mile and open up the systems and check refrigerant levels,
right?
To see if the system's actually operating properly before purchasing the house,
right?
Yeah,
because they can't necessarily tell if there's a leak or things like that.
So where this gets tricky, the system may have a leak for years, and the homeowner could have just been adding refrigerant to the system, and you move in, and now 2 months later, your system's out of refrigerant,
right?
Because they were just adding refrigerant and never fixed it. So because fixing it may have been a very costly thing,
right?
So those are things you can possibly catch, because refrigerant it's oil based.
Mm-hmm.
So if we have a refrigerant leak and we're opening up the system, we can generally see that it's leaking,
right?
Even though the pressures are perfect. We can see if there's a leak.
Yeah, no, for sure. I've had that happen multiple times. Yeah, for sure. So you had mentioned seeing the way in which the unit is cared for and the cleanliness and all of that, right? So as a seller, when you're, as a homeowner, right, what is important for you to do? And, people just kind of let things run, and I feel like they call you when they have a problem, right? So what do you recommend is kind of part of like that maintenance of the systems?
Changing filters is very important. So the lack of changing filters, it's hard. I understand. It's very hard to like stay on top of a filter, schedule. But that's your biggest thing to do as a homeowner is make sure you're changing your filters often. You could have a very basic filter, but as long as you're changing it often, it doesn't. The system won't back up as much. So what happens is that filter is keeping the dust and whatever allergens coming through the system, but it's also keeping the system running clean. If that filter builds up, what happens is that dust starts to pull through that filter because it's on the filter, and it gets inside the coil, it gets inside the motor, and it gets through your duct system. So what happens is, and it gets in your drain. So now your drain starts to clog up more.
Yeah.
Right. So everything's working harder, and then the motor starts to work harder. The compressor starts to work harder. So now the whole system's working harder just because you're not changing the filters, in time. And we go to houses. Oh my God. We have dirty filters everywhere we go. They're like, I just changed it.
No, you didn't.
But then they look, or they even wrote it, and it was like 3 months ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you have pets and things like that,
often.
Or what is like often monthly minimum?
Sometimes we tell people 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We're like, listen, buy a stock of cheap filters, just change them, put it in there, pull it out, replace it.
Because if they're clogged as well, right? It makes the system work harder, and then it's not like sometimes it'll shut. It's not working, right? It's not going to cool properly. And so people will say, oh, my AC is not working. And then you're taking that out and you're like, this is filthy. You change the filter and it's working again.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. It can even freeze the system.
Right. That's what it,
Yeah. It'll completely freeze up.
what would be the reasons that would freeze? Like the
Because
systems would freeze when you have the pipe outside.
Clogged that now the air can't pass through fast enough through the system. So it stresses the system out. So it's clogging the airflow. So the air can't go through the coil. So what happens is the compressor is pumping, fan's not able to pull the air through, and it freezes the entire system up. So now you have ice that builds up on the entire system. Now you have, if you don't have anything under it to protect now the ice is going to thaw. It could damage, your stuff under the AC, or if it's in the attic, it could damage your ceiling if your drain line clogs up in that process.
Right.
Because now you have too much water going through the drain pipe.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing that comes to mind is like dirty coils. And this comes up a lot, right? So one thing recently that came up was we had a house that had a listing of mine that had 2 AC units that were put in like 2002.
Okay.
They were old.
Yep.
And their coils were decrepit.
Right.
And the inspector suggested that the coils be cleaned. So me, with my background,
right,
because this is what my family's done in HVAC, and I looked at the picture, and the coils were rusted.
Yeah.
They were like duct taped, and they were rusted. And the inspector said that the coils needed to be cleaned. And so at the end of the day, as a buyer or as a buyer's agent, like if you're working with me and I see that suggestion, you're thinking, oh, the seller can give me a credit to get the coils cleaned. And then you're coming out and you're like, I can't touch this with a 10-foot pole. If I take the coils out, they're going to disintegrate.
Correct.
So, and it's a 22-year-old system. I don't know if I could get you coils. And at this point, you're changing out the system, right? So those are some things that I think that, unfortunately, it happens a lot, right? So, you have to work with people that are kind of giving you the whole picture of your circumstance, because you can get that credit for $500 and then your HVAC guy is going to come out and be like, I ain't touching this. It's falling apart, right?
That's a full replacement at that point.
It's a full replacement.
Right.
So, when you're getting those inspection reports, there's merit to bringing in the specialized trades to do those inspections. Not necessarily just the inspector.
Correct.
Yeah.
And look, my company, we don't charge a lot to come out to do these inspections. This is just a service, really. We're serving our contacts that we already have a good relationships with, like yourself and inspection companies, and it just helps service the client, the person buying the house, right? Because we're just giving them more information on that AC system, because it's super important to make sure it's going to work once you buy the house.
What are some things that people need to keep in mind if they're inheriting a system that may have been installed without permits?
So without permits, there's a lot of things that can be missed. Number one thing that we just ran across, remember we had a little cold snap? Heaters.
Oh.
When you don't install a system without a permit, most likely you didn't get a heater. Because that's a number one thing that they look for when they're inspecting an AC system is the heat strip.
Heat strip. Yep.
So heat strips, if you don't know, in South Florida, we don't really have heat pumps or gas furnace, right? That's a rare thing. You may find 1 or 2 here and there. We have heat strips, like a toaster oven strip that goes inside the system. So it's a separate item. It's not sold with an AC system. It's not sold at all with the AC, right?
Oh, it's not part of it at all.
No, we buy this separately when we're purchasing your system to install. It's a whole separate piece.
I thought it was just one of those that people didn't turn on and off, and it was it was not plugged in. Oh,
no,
good to know.
So it doesn't have to go inside the AC at all, right? So what happens is if you're not permitting your job, there may not be a heater inside that system because it will never pass inspection.
They require that.
Right, they require it. Yeah. Wire sizes have to be correct. So now once you have a heater, you have to have the correct wire size. So that's something else that's checked with inspection. Sometimes if you're not doing it with permits, they may put a heater in there, but the wrong wire size. That's a fire hazard immediately because it pulls so much amperage.
Right. It depends too. Also, like if the panel can support. If you change the
panel may not be able to support it. Correct.
Right.
So now you run into that issue. Now they put a heater that the wire size is small, and the panel now is one of those panels that needs to be updated because of insurance issues like a FPE or, one of those breakers that they don't make anymore.
Right.
Right.
I know also, like, I've seen a lot of things that have come up where the outside unit was not installed on a pad or not. There's certain things with the outside, like strappings and things like that.
So your hurricane tie downs has to be a certain way because we actually have engineering tie down instructions from the manufacturer that we have to follow. We submit that with the city for a permit.
I can't tell you how many of them have never. So many of them.
So if you don't have
so many of them,
that engineering, right? Those sheets, it's like 12 pages, right? So you have to submit that. That's what your inspector is going to come out and look for to make sure that you anchored it down properly because we're in a hurricane zone. And then the slab has to be hurricane rated, or it has to be a full poured concrete slab. The unit has to be so much inches off the wall. You can't block, disconnect boxes. Disconnect box has to be proper. So there's all these things the inspectors look for.
Anything about drainage and how those
drainage. They want to make sure your drain's insulated. They want to make sure your drain's trapped. So those are the things that they look at. The trap is important because in South Florida, we get a lot of lizards that like to climb up those pipes.
Yeah.
And it will clog a system up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure. What about ductwork?
Yeah. So ductwork's super important. More than ever now because we're in our communities our houses have aged.
Right.
Right. When I was, 20 years ago, when we were selling ACs, houses were fairly new.
Right.
Now we're in an era where the houses have aged. So remodeling a house is very nice. People remodel houses all the time, but the ductwork gets left.
They don't realize they're like breathing in crap and they've got a beautiful house. Yeah.
Insulation gets left up there, and we have a lot of rodents here in South Florida.
Yes.
So we go into attics where it smells pretty bad because there's been massive rodent problems. And that stuff, they like to chew through ductwork and stuff, and it gets inside the ductwork.
And you're breathing that.
And you're breathing that, right?
And fiberglass potentially and things like that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We're wearing 3 layers when we go in your attic because we're coming out itching.
Yeah.
Right? That stuff's going inside your airstream. So you're filtering, but then you're missing all of that stuff because it's coming.
The air is poofing through this dirty. Right. Yep. So one thing, I think that there's a lot of, on TV, you'll see like duct cleaning companies, right? So exactly. So speak about that, right? So what is,
So duct cleaning is not, you don't have to be an HVAC contractor to be a duct cleaner, right? There is a National Air Duct Cleaning Association, which is NADCA certification to properly learn how to clean ducts, metal ducts, fiberglass ducts, flexible ducts. Mm-hmm. South Florida, we have a lot of, we have all of them. We have metal, we have fiberglass, and we have more flexible ducts in the newer houses. Cleaning ducts, when it gets to a certain point, it's useless, right? You're just throwing money at something that there is no benefit to you. What happens is the companies will spray foggers inside the ducts to try to sanitize it, but that only lasts for like a few weeks, and then that sort of just runs out, right? Because it sort of just masks the smells of the ducts. And then companies paint ducts. There's a paint that they can paint over ducts. They sell that. You can paint. But realistically, what's happening there is you're trying to mitigate the problem inside. You're trying to treat that symptom. The issue is the outer layer of the duct. The insulation value, the R value, the insulated value of the duct is shot because the duct system is already past its useful life. So what's happening is the heat is penetrating through the duct and getting into your cold. So you have cold air passing through your ducts, but the heat is so your cold air is fighting with the heat coming through the insulation of the duct because the insulation has expired.
Right.
Right. So we take out older ducts and they come out like with our hands. We can just take it. They're falling apart or crumbling.
So gross.
And our new stuff, it's hard. It's highly insulated.
Ductwork scares me. It's like oh my God, they're so gross. It's like bags of like.
It's bad.
And I think also, the inspections when they're done, especially if you're buying an old house, when you're doing a basic inspection, there's often the inspectors like popping their head in. They need to like look and see the brackets, the strapping.
Right.
They measure. They look at certain things, and then they'll look and see. But there's also a lot of them don't go like into the crevices, and a lot of that clearance is not, a lot of inspectors are not going into every potential crevice, right? So you keep in mind as well, if you're doing that inspection, that's only like 50%. Like you could have ductwork in the rest of your house in different areas that are ripped, that are like what you're saying. So that's a really big part of it, because you're doing all this renovations in these houses and they're 40, 50, 60 years old with 40, 50, 60-year-old ductwork, and you're breathing all that in. So that's something, and you and I are going to talk, because I already told you about that I needed to do, because I was coughing and had this like crazy cough that I even had to get like a mold and particle test in my house to figure out if it was fiberglass. Like I couldn't figure out what was going on. Turns out it's seasonal and everything, but in the process of that, the ductworks were looked at. And it's collapsed. One of them collapsed and is like sucking air, right? And there's a hole in one of them. There's mold growing around the other one because there's a hole in it. And this is all what was in our system, right? Yeah. So keep in mind and I don't see people saying, yeah, I'm doing my ductwork, right? No. They're not. They're doing their kitchen. They're doing their bathrooms. They're doing all these things. That this is like one of those things that is hidden, and you're not really thinking about it when you're doing things. It's important.
No, it's actually really, really important. And let me give you an idea. When we do duct system in a house, we have drywall work now that we have to do. You may have to re-insulate parts of the house. Right. You can't insulate over old ducts because it'll cause condensation and create more problems. Right. So really good insulation companies know this. So they won't insulate a house unless that duct system is up to spec. Oh, okay. Don't tell them you need to reduct the house first. Right. Before we could add insulation to the house. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting. What would you say are the things, like the common mistakes the homeowners are making that shorten the lifespan of their units? Is there anything that people are not doing, or should anything about running it, cleaning it, doing, what should someone be doing monthly aside from the filters? Like they say, putting in drop things and vinegar, bleach, or, aside from hiring you guys, I think you have like a plan, you do like a service plan. What's looked at? Is it like every 6 months? What should a homeowner be doing to extend that lifespan of the unit? Because you'll have brand new units that are dead after 3 or 4 years. And then, you'll have, and then obviously there's other problems that come with that. I had one that compressor blew like 4 times, literally, like it was weird in one of the houses. But what should a homeowner be doing to maintain their system outside of like the filters? So filters is your main part. Making sure the outside unit is clean and debris free to make sure it can breathe. A lot of people think covering up the unit is better because it's the sun outside, but no, it has to be free and breathe properly because it's sucking in that air from the outside, right? That's how the coil system works. So you need the system to be clear, debris free, like dirt gets in the coils outside. So taking a hose, a light mist, nothing too harsh. You could hose down the coil outside yourself and not need anyone, to maintain that part of it. That helps the system, the compressor, breathe a lot easier. Inside, putting the filter is good. Some homeowners, we teach how to spray inside coils with coil sprays, coil cleaners. Oh, okay. Right? So there's inside coil cleaners you can buy. We like the brand Viper. Viper's a really good brand. Anyone can buy this brand. You can buy it on Amazon, right? You could, if you're handy, you could open the panel, right? And you could spray it. Give it a light spray every month. That just helps keep, that just washes off with the water naturally in the air. Okay. And that just helps to keeps the coils clean as it's running. Vinegar in the line's good, right? Bleach is tough because it could damage the coils because anything with harsh chemicals the fumes can get back into the coils. The fumes, because the line is going out. Right. It's the drain line, but it's like the fumes, the chemical reaction, feedback can damage the coils. Got you. Right? Okay. So even the manufacturer puts labels on the coils that says nothing but water. But you can use vinegar is pretty natural. So we have no issues with vinegar. I know one thing that, so I've had many like leaks, right? So when you have homeowners that will say, oh, I have a leak in the garage because the handler is up in the attic and next thing you know, water, right? Right. So that's usually a byproduct of not maintaining. You have to, so if the unit's in the attic, it's very hard for a homeowner to go up into the attic and maintain it. We have a problem called Zuglia. Zuglia is a fungi that grows in our drain systems.
Is it gloopy?
Yeah, it's
gloopy.
gloopy.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I've had.
Right.
Oh.
It has to deal.
That's the name, Zuglia.
Zuglia.
Good to know.
So it has to deal with the aluminum coils that they're using now, because we used to have copper coils. Now they're using aluminum coils. So there's a lot of products out there that you could install in your system to try to fight Zuglia, right? There's a lot of products we can sell you, we can install.
Yeah.
What we find, maintenance. Just have a maintenance agreement. Someone actually cleaning it out, and you're fine. You're fine. But you could put ultraviolet lights now inside your system.
Yeah, during COVID, right? We had that whole, everyone was putting that in.
They were putting in air purification systems, and they even have claims to kill COVID, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But you're talking about the UV lights in the coil.
Like in the drain pan. They make little
the drain
tiny
pan.
Yeah, they make little tiny UV lights now that goes in the pan to like help kill the Zuglia, right?
I love that name.
Yeah.
I'm going to go home and tell my husband that stuff that came out because we had flushed it one day. And oh my God, there was so much. It was horrific.
It's horrific. It was like snot.
It was snot. It was literally snot coming out of this pipe. And I was like, whoa, it's not stopping. And he was outside. He's like, this stuff is not stopping. We had like 2 cups of it that got clogged in it.
Well, that's the problem with them. Once it grows on the pipe, it grows on each other. So it keeps growing. You have to get it all out. Yeah. Because it'll grow back again.
Yeah. I have like a shop vac, and a contraption that attaches to it.
Good.
And because I think the biggest problems I've had over the houses that I've owned is like either it's in the attic.
Right.
Or the pipe is all underground. And we've had so many, the Freon line that had a leak underground.
Oh my God.
And then you have to bring it, we had to like have it redone, but I just have the worst luck with AC.
Yes. Well, drain lines, I believe drain lines should be replaced every so often. Like the drain pipe itself, if it can be rerouted or replaced, it should. Yeah. It should be replaced because at some point that stuff builds up, right? And it hardens.
Right. It hardens. So the amount,
So in the winter, whatever winter we get, people, turn off their ACs. Now, if they turn it off long enough, that stuff, it will harden inside the pipe. People will turn their ACs back on. They got a clogged drain line. And their pipe basically clogged up on its own just because there was no water running through it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, whenever I work with sellers as well, like it's a vacant house and people are like, oh, I don't want to run the AC. I'm like, no, we're in Florida. That's not an option. We had one where recently where the owner didn't realize that FPL bill wasn't being paid. And it was 3 days. I went to the unit on Wednesday. The agent called me on Monday and she's like, Nicole, it's disgusting in here. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, she's like, the electrical's not on. And I'm like, what do you mean the electrical's not on? I told everyone keep everything on. In 2.5 days, 2.5 days of not being, this was recently, there was like mold growing on a cabinet and it was disgusting in there. So sellers, when you have your houses listed, please keep it at a temperature that will allow it to continue to run, right? So that number that'll trigger it to turn on because that machine is doing what? Taking out the humidity. And, that's Correct. Part of it all, right? So if you're keeping it at 80 and it's 76 outside, it's not going to run.
Right.
Right. So, and yes, I get it. People like the expense and the expense of the alternative is way worse.
It's way worse.
You got to keep those machines running. I can't tell you how many houses I've shown that are vacant that they will keep it set at like 80, 82. So, and then your buyer's walking into the house and that's uncomfortable. That buyer, the agent was great. They left. They couldn't go inside. We had to figure it out and fix it. And they, they're going to come back, but it's not comfortable. God bless air conditioning and the people who made it and the people who fix it. Right. Right. Especially in Florida, it's like a non-negotiable.
It's a non-negotiable at this point. Structures are actually being designed to be more energy efficient. Yeah. Right. So the houses being sold today are considered leak-free. Meaning the air from outside is not getting into the structure. So we're not leaking air, right? We're not leaking air from in to out to in. So what happens, it traps the humidity. So if you're not dehumidifying that house inside, that humidity gets trapped inside the house and it creates a bigger problem. The older houses were very leaky. So back in the day, you could have an old house not running with AC because the air was flowing through that house
Right.
because the old jalousie windows, air is still
That
getting
makes
in and out.
sense. Yeah.
But the new structures, or even an old structure they made it new. They put impact windows, so they tighten up that now all those things are sealed.
Right.
You trap humidity in a house, it becomes a problem.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
for sure. When we get inspection reports, you'll hear them write on there, the system is past its useful life.
Right.
Right? Like, so past its useful life. So manufacturer recommends certain numbers and they kind of come up with like a number, if it's 12 or 13 or 15 years past its useful life. What are you seeing from all these years you've been doing this with units? And, you'll see even commercials, certain brands, like never stop a train, right? So the trains last. So what are you seeing over years of like, just from your experience of longevity and how...
Basically, at this point, what we're seeing, in the last week, we've probably dealt with 10 coil leaks, right? Systems anywhere from 2 years old to 8 years old. So what we're seeing now is a warranty and age comparison. So as long as you have warranty that covers those parts and hopefully labor, you're in good shape. The minute you're outside of warranty, you're one repair away from a replacement. So we're basing we're basing the life of a system based on the warranty that it has. Because today the parts are super expensive.
Yeah.
The refrigerant's really expensive.
Coils are sometimes the cost of the actual unit.
And the labor is super expensive. So now you put all that together and you're going to try to repair a system that's 6-7 years old, but you don't have any warranty. You're very close to a replacement. Yeah. So we're telling everyone now, which is one thing to look for, which I kind of missed when when buyers are looking to buy the house, warranties. Mm-hmm. Make sure the system's still under warranty or it's transferable.
Well, now there was the change, right? That you had schooled me on, but on certain things.
But each manufacturer is warrantying that differently. But the law said 2024 and forward, right? 2024 and forward. Meaning anything before 2024 they're not honoring it.
They're not honoring
it.
No. So if a unit was installed after 2024, they must allow it to be a transferable warranty.
We hope. We hope they honor it. Yes.
Because that was like legislation that was put out, right?
Well, the legislation passed last year.
Yeah.
Was it last year? No, 2024.
2 years, yeah.
2024. That's when it passed. So that's when they're doing it from the date it passed. So anything installed from that date going forward, it's fine.
Okay.
Right? But before that, they're not honoring it.
Got you. So keep in mind, you could be buying a property that had a brand new AC 3 years ago,
but doesn't
and
have
you have no more. You don't have a warranty.
So they'll have the standard 5. So everyone's gonna have the standard 5-year warranty. So say it was 3 years ago, they would still have 2 years left. Like it's that 5-year base warranty.
Okay.
It's the extra 5 they don't get.
Okay.
And then labor is another tricky thing. So labor at this point covers you for refrigerant. It's not covered with warranties.
Oh, and that stuff's expensive.
Yeah. So when people are like, "Oh, I have a warranty," well, refrigerant's going to cost you a lot of money now because now not just to add refrigerant, you have to change the filter dryer. You have to pull a vacuum. So once you get involved with refrigerant, it's not just adding refrigerant. You have to now kind of reinstall everything to add refrigerant back into the system because you have a leak. So if you have a leak and we're pulling parts out, we introduce moisture. Right. We have to now pull the moisture back out of the system because it's all internal. Right? So it's a process to just add refrigerant, right? We have to find the leak, fix the leak, replace the part, filter dryer, vacuum down the system, which a vacuum can take, up to an hour. So now you're just sitting, waiting for the vacuum to finish, right? You have to leak check the system before you pull a vacuum. Then you have to introduce refrigerant back into the system, properly charge it. The properly charged system can take another 45 minutes. So it's a 4 to 5 hour job just to fix a leak.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you have all the parts there.
If you have all the parts.
And the manufacturers, some of the manufacturers want the part back.
Yes,
so
they do.
You got to come to the house, take the part out, say it's in the attic, take the part out, drive it to the distributor, get this all done, and then bring it back. Right? So now you're all day.
It's a process.
It's a process. Yeah.
So speak to refrigerants. So you mentioned refrigerants, right? And so what has changed in this industry with the refrigerants and the old units, the new units, the type of gas no longer applicable? So I'll preface this by saying I had a client who replaced, you have your outside condenser, you have the air handler inside, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they replaced the handler in 2022, maybe. And then the unit that was on the roof in the condo was like 15 years old or something like that. And it didn't die, but they just replaced the inside one.
Right.
And what ended up happening, right? So the unit on the roof got zapped by, I think, lightning, and something. Yeah, it was crisped. It was done. And granted, whatever, it ended up dying, whatever their cause of death was, and now it's dead.
Right.
And now the owner is like, oh, well, we're just gonna replace the one on the roof.
Well, you can't do that.
Right. So why?
Because the systems are matched. They come designed to work with each other. And there's a refrigerant issue there too. So in 2022, we use a refrigerant called R410A. That was the refrigerant that was designed for us to use going forward after R22. R22 was the original refrigerant, right? Pure gas. Everyone loves R22. R22 was a low pressure gas. It wasn't a blend. So it's very pure, just one gas, right? Low pressure. And you could have a leak in your system for years. And you just put a little bit of R22 in it and it will last another 2 years. So everyone's sort of used to the R22 life, right? Because your system could leak for 10 years and you could keep putting R22 in.
When did that get phased out?
That got phased out in 2010.
Oh.
2010 was the phase out of R22. We were allowed to continue repairing R22 systems up till 2020. After 2020, we're not allowed to repair
them.
No, we're not even allowed to repair them, touch them, put gas in it. That's R22, for us is done, right?
So new units weren't made after 2010 then?
New units were not made after 2010.
So if you're sitting here today with a unit that had R22, it was a 2008 unit.
Correct. Or 9.
Or 10. Yeah. And so now it's, okay, interesting. Yeah. So in
2010, R410A was introduced, which is a high pressure blended gas, right? So when you have a leak, it leaks out fast, right? R22 used to leak out slow.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone was still used to this, just add gas, right? But it's a blended gas, which means technically you're not even supposed to just add gas. You're supposed to have gas introduced into all the way, not just adding it, but it works. People just add gas, but then it leaks out and you add again, it leaks out.
Right.
Or it doesn't last more than 2 days or a day, right? Or even, leaving
it. Your leak. Yeah.
Right, because it's a big leak. So now we've got into where you have to find the leak, right? You have to find the leak before you add gas. That's protocol. EPA rules, EPA guidelines, right? We're not even supposed to add gas if a system has a leak.
Right.
We're supposed to find the leak.
It makes sense.
Fix that, then do you go through your process to adding gas.
Yeah.
Right.
So then that gas now, is that the gas
that's so the gas we use now. So 410A was now phased out again.
Right. That's what I was saying.
Right?
There's another phase out.
We went to R22, which we've had since AC was invented, by the way. R22 was around since AC started. Many, many, many years. Now we got R410A. They phased this out now. So now we have two types of refrigerant on the market that we're legally allowed to use. R454B and R32. These are the 2 types of refrigerants we're allowed to use. Daikin, Goodman, and I think Daikin Goodman might be the only ones. They use R32, right? Everyone else is using R454B.
Oh, interesting.
So there's 2 different types of gas now on the market that we're allowed to use. At some point, we're probably going to go to 1, but right now there's 2 different types on the market.
So that caused my client with the unit a situation because they had changed their unit before this last phase out.
Right.
And the unit up in the on the roof was now a very mismatch. I mean, it was 15 years old.
Correct.
The one in the whatchamacallit was 2 minutes.
Right.
I'm 2 years old. And so they were trying to find an old unit so that they could match it, and they don't exist anymore. That was it. So now they were forced to replace a 3-year-old AC unit inside and outside.
Yes, because of that refrigerant. So if that was caught with inspection, right? The inspector notified them of that.
Well, if it was permitted, it would
Or
never
if
have
it was
been
permitted.
installed.
Right.
If it was permitted, it would never have been installed.
That's true too.
So
Yeah.
they paid $4,000 for that 3 years ago, and now they paid $8,000 to replace it all again.
And that's the thing. These numbers that were around so I was around in 2010, right? The economy crashed, right? Remember the economy, big crash?
Yeah.
2008, Obama's administration, right, came out with all these things to help boost the economy, right? In our industry, we were the energy industry, which is not just us, but everything in energy. They were giving massive credits to upgrade your HVAC system, your plumbing, right? They were giving a ton of credits. So people that bought air conditioning systems between 2010 and like 12 got lit systems for half off, right? So those numbers were half off. Their units were still 8, 10, 12 grand, but they were half off.
Yeah.
So now we go 10 years later and everyone's like, yeah, I want my system for 3,500 or 4 grand. You're like,
wait, what?
But look at your receipt. You saw you got $1,500 from FPL, $1,000 from the state, another $2,500 tax credit.
Yeah.
Like all these things you got off. And then now those things are pretty much non-existent.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
No, I think it's important to do things the right way. I think sometimes the first time, and you'll see issues that come up as well, where you may install a unit and it was not done by a professional that knows all these things, and you installed a unit was too big or too small, and the implications of that affect you in certain ways.
Manual J heat loads must be done on every single sales call. So if you're looking to replace your system and you're not getting a manual J done, the company's not performing a manual J, no one knows what size that house is actually supposed to have. We don't follow the 400 to 500 square foot rule. No, there's a lot involved in sizing the system.
Okay.
If we have aged ductwork, 30-year-old ductwork, we need to implement the calculation into the house that the house has 30-year ductwork. They may have improved the windows. They may have went from regular windows to impact windows, right? The insulation may have totally deteriorated in the house.
Right.
Now there's no insulation, or you have a lot of insulation. The type of roof may have changed, right? The insulation on the roof may have changed. So these things have to go into a calculation. You put that calculation together. Now you know what size the house actually needs today.
It's a lot more technical than people make it out to be.
A lot more.
And then when you don't do it that way, you got problems.
You got problems.
So
yeah.
Thank you so much for your knowledge. Is there anything I forgot?
No, there's plenty, but we're good.
Well, if you guys have any questions or need anything as far as replacement, service, ductwork, please reach out to Nick. Nick, let them know what's a good number to hit you up at. And
well, I could give out my private number because I'm all for talking to everybody about AC. I'm like an AC geek. So
awesome.
I'm Nick with Be Cool Air Conditioning, the owner of Be Cool. My phone number is 954-729-7617. My email is nick@becoolair.com. And yeah, reach out, send me a text. I don't mind speaking to anyone about whatever's going on. I have no problems talking.
I appreciate it. Nick does a great job. He's, I value people who do things the right way, who take the time, who really do show up as well, right? And do things the right way. And our experiences together have been great since we started working together. So I appreciate it. You were definitely class act in how you run your business. So thank you so much. Thank you guys out there. If you have any questions or need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or to Nick. And I appreciate you all listening. If you have got any nuggets out of this show, please make sure to share, like, comment, get us some support, but more so share, because the knowledge is important and you never know who needs it. So thank you all so much for joining me, and I'll see you on the next one.
Question: real estate in California. What the Seriously, can someone help? What's an escrow? What's an ARM? What is an REO? What is pre-approval? Can I get pre-approval? Why is inventory so low? Why are interest rates so high? Oh, interest rates not so high? How low is low? How not so high is right?
Before you go down the road of questions, get expert help at championsofhome.com. California Association of Realtors. Who's your realtor?